Good afternoon, colleagues. Minjani? Yeah, so the chairperson is on his way, Benedict Mashile. Mdawana Angala Matwin is the secretary of Orovelane Maripi Alumni Organization. I go by the name of Harold Ngobeni. So while waiting for our chair to arrive, I will do a brief intro of myself. I hail from the village next door called Matsawana. Yeah, no manjin court, and I mean. I arrived Orovelane, I think it was the year 2000. And then I did my grade 11 and 12. I was a science student. Any science student here? Yes, I was a science and business studies student. Any business studies students? Yes. So I did life sciences, previously known at that point as biology. And then I also did physical sciences. And I did mathematics, Xitsonga, English, Afrikaans, and then business studies. So today we have been asked to come and talk about, hey, man, I'm going yeah, so that's a dance challenge in court. It's called politique, yeah. Yeah, no, I find nothing was in all of that. But we must be proud of our heritage. So yes, the year 2001, I was in the same class with Benedict Mashile, who we're going to find now, and then we start, because he's doing the first item. So maybe I should still do the protocol. Just to observe the protocol, he can sakuniki wankari, he SGB, he can sakuniki wankari, he vuhosi, he can sakuniki wankari, he principal, Manyika, he can sakuniki wankari, he deputy principal, Kiwaladre. I think I've seen him around, and I'm happy to see the school governing body here, to see the teachers, the principals, and everyone else from a second management perspective. So yes, after completing my matric, that particular year, it was one of the toughest matric years we ever had as a Orovelane. I think it was probably the first year we didn't have a student who had an A in mathematics. The highest mark in mathematics that particular year was in 72, if I'm not mistaken. And that student was the one in front of you. So you then look at physical sciences. That particular year was also very tough, the year of 2001, because there was a change in the education system of South Africa, where we are moving from provincial-led matric system to a national system that was definitely graded much tougher. So I, together with Benny and many other distinguished matriculants of that year, managed to pass with what we call a bachelor's degree these times. In Karinwa, you pass the exemption. Then you had to go and look at the newspaper, and you get that excitement that, oh, I have made it. So now, what are you going to do, Harold Ngobeni? I had applied in time. I had applied at UCT. I had applied at Medunsa. I had applied at VETS. So please do not put your eggs in one basket. Please do not put all your eggs in one basket. Apply as many institutions as you can. I also applied for student financial aid. My father was a teacher. My mother, a housewife. And that category of children sometimes are called the missing middle. Why are they called the missing middle? Because they are neither rich nor too poor to qualify for the entire funding that you get at National Students Financial Aid Services or other similar services. So what has happened then, I got a partial bursary or a partial funding from NEFSAS to only fund 50% of my tuition. I do not know what had happened to us that year, but I didn't apply for any bursary. So I say, as you stand now, there are companies, institutions that you can apply as from today for bursaries, etc., etc. In my particular case, I had not applied. I had to rely solely on the income of Mfundisi Ngobeni, my father, and that partial funding for my tuition from NEFSAS. I ended up at Wits University. But prior to that, which is probably what careers is about, I found myself having passed maths and sciences. My father asked me, so what are you going to do? I said, I actually don't know. But they said, Mus, you had forms from Medunsa, you had forms from Wits and UCT. What have you put there? I actually, because I didn't know what I really love, despite being a student of science, I had put medicine as a second choice at Wits. I then decided not to return the forms for Medunsa. Being a medical school, I knew if I returned the forms, the chances of being in a medicine class are high. And I was not sure if I would become a good doctor. So I self-sabotaged, delayed that part. So it will happen to you that you do not know, but get ready academically. So my academics were on point. But what I wanted to do was confusing. I knew I can't make a good engineer. I was passing sciences, one of the best students in the school, but I knew I can't make a good engineer. I was passing mathematics. I was suddenly enjoying a bit of business economics, but I was not in an accounting class. So you will find yourself in that predicament. Today, you have the privilege of exploring the internet and searching as many careers as you can. The chairperson told me that the average person changes careers 3 times in their lifetime. I have a lot of friends who are chartered accountants who are no longer doing the work of a chartered accountant on a day-to-day basis. So you can't be anything you want to be. I sit here, being a science student, who said, perhaps this doesn't work for me. So what happened then? I was in a shack in Davidton, Emapupeni, with my brother-in-law. He looked at my results, he's like, you can walk into a school of accountancy with your marks. Guess what? The year 2001, that privilege existed of being able to go to Wits University and have something called amendment form. To amend is to change your career. So you go there and you amend from my first choice of pharmacy to Bachelor of Accountancy. Your generation doesn't have that privilege. So if you are not sure like me, do the research now. There are so many faculties out there. One may ask, which is what the chair asked me to address, what if what I love is related to things that are not high on demand from an employment perspective? What do you do in that particular case? The answer is find the balance. So far now, kuxavisa matamatisa. Loko hinkwavo vanhu va xavisa matamatisa la. Could you say what goes with tomatoes and make a different choice there? You might make more money than everyone else who's making tomatoes. So what is trending right now? The current trends in the world. There is an issue of COVID and we are seeing excess death. There is a higher life expectancy. So when there's a higher life expectancy, people are living longer and longer. So what does this mean? It means that there are more people who are elderly who need to be taken care of. We saw when there was hard lockdown, nursing, healthcare services became one of the critical areas that are in high demand. It is predicted that as we go forward, because people are living longer due to technology and advances in health, nursing, medical services, and all related fields in that space of medicine. You might say, I am not the best person to kuongola muvabyi, kuhlayisa muvabyi, lo angankulu because angakoti kutiendela anything. But I could be the manager of the hospital. Can you manage UNOSFAF? Ungaba manager wa UNOSFAF? No. So practice being that good person. That one day when you do those sciences, or you do that management course, or you do that marketing, or you do engineering, you run the hospital because you know how to project manage. Of course, you will end up having to learn something about medicine if you manage that. So there is a big trend currently in demand, and going forward, there will be even more demand for healthcare related services. Another area of high demand. Who knows the concept 4IR? Anyone, any taker? I might have some money here to give away. 4IR. Any hand? Hey, I'm the accountant, Standard Bank. I'm head of finance. So we could. I want someone to define 4IR for me. Failing which, this is the fourth industrial revolution. There has been so many revolutions in the past. Today it's not the topic, but what this means is that technology is leading a lot of things. So as a result, the demand for software developers, the people who build apps that you have on your phone, WhatsApp, Instagram, Facebook, Dr. Posa mentioned that actually you must understand how things work. And you must just not take things for granted. So as a result of that, if you're gonna pursue a field of study that is information technology related, know that that skill will be in demand. Further to that, the security related to information technology is becoming more and more crucial. So why is that the case? We are seeing companies needing to be protected because data is becoming so key. And it's so key, it can make a company make more money or lose money. So if you are interested in IT-related studies and all the connected dots to it, these skills are in demand. Are we going to stop needing police services? No. Are we going to stop needing social workers? No. Are we going to stop needing people from the Faculty of Humanities? No. If you are an artist, the best advice is to go and study that field and go beyond being an ordinary artist who has 2 albums. After 2 albums, you do not have anything to show for it. Our alumni from this school, Mabongi Mabaso, the gospel artist, she studied music. So, Angana Talent and Sayana Mabongi, what she did, she said, I'm passionate about music, I'm going to study it. So unlike a normal artist, Vambuyangwan, she can go to German and write music. Because music is an universal language, she can understand that. So if you have a passion, study that passion. If you have a passion, what is the keyword? Study that passion. You may need to balance your passion with the demands of the world. It is possible. I knew I'm not passionate about potential engineering studies. I'm not passionate about medical related services. Nothing wrong with that. Our beautiful Miss Mpumalanga is doing medicine currently. She's the deputy of Harold Ngobeni on the secretarial services of the organization. Can you see that we are also having other careers beyond our own fields? So yes, I then bring it back to what happened then. I got an amendment form. I was accepted. I went to study Bachelor of Accountancy, a 4-year degree at Wits University. Very tough. After completing it, articles at Deloitte, and then post-Deloitte articles. Being a chartered accountant means you are a general practitioner of finance. I then discovered my passion within that broad spectrum of chartered accountancy. You can have passion as a mechanical engineer or a civil engineer, Who knows that civil engineering is the mother of all sciences? Because the word civil means what? Society. Civil society. So a civil engineer is the first person who's going to come here and say, Kunam Savala, how do we prepare the land? All they do is to put poles and say, whoever is going to come here, you must build there. Whoever is going to come on this point, you must put a road here. So you can be that person who's appreciative of civil service, and you say, how do I make Tulamahash, Mambumbu, Kakuman the best townships in the world? By taking that all the way from Joburg, where we see these developments that are proper, and bring them home, because you are concerned about the civil society. You are concerned about the civilization of people. So whatever passion you have, you will find that there is something you can do. There are certain things that are arts and are time-bound, or sports that is time-bound. There's a player who used to be very great in soccer in South Africa, known as Dr. Khumalo. He's still alive. Anyone who can bet when was the last time he played soccer as a professional? So where am I going with this? Dr. Khumalo played soccer. On average, as a soccer player, you start at the age of 18 to be a professional. When you get to the age of 35, you are starting to retire. So if Dr. Khumalo was 35 from the year 2001, today he has spent 20 years no longer doing that job that was his blessing. So what must Dr. Khumalo do in that space? He must appreciate that sports, you can make a lot of money in an average of 10 to 12 years. Some go into 20 years, which is rare. But your prime is almost 10 years. However, you must find a life beyond your sports. So I always get this view that I will do sports, I will do rap hip hop, I will be, please add to that space things you will do when you are done with your sports. And you cannot add them when you are done. Do them hand in hand. Most soccer players don't even know how to communicate in English or even in vernac. So what happens to them? When the career ends, is the end of them. Don't be that sport player. We want to be proud of you that did your sport and you are from Orovelan. So there are certain schools that are known to be sports schools. They make sure their children or their students, when they come out of that school, they also have something to fall back on or continue. With that being said, I just want to check if the chair is back. He was here and he disappeared again. And it gives me more time. Please just check for me when he's going to come back. So, in short, you can be like me. You can be at a stalemate, at a point where you don't know what you're going to do next. But there won't be an excuse as far as preparation is concerned. I made sure I passed Xitsonga. I later discovered I'm actually more a public speaker than an accountant. So guess what I have done at Nedbank? I have emceed their year-end functions. You know Mpopops, the comedian? I have, at Standard Bank, replaced Mpopops as the MC of the functions he used to MC. I have actually taken bread away from him. But you say I'm an accountant. I'm not an accountant. I'm a human being with multiple skills that I'm exploring every day. So go and look at yourself and say, what other skills do you have? How do you nurture them? While you have the core foundation of Lavanyana Shinkwa, accounting Leinika Shinkwa, I'm able to go and stay in an estate. I'm able to drive a nice car, etc., etc. Maswan, you can go overseas, you can do anything with your passion, but check all your other talents and make them come together. Because imagine if you are a good accountant, a good public speaker, and also a good human being, because you have learned the values of Mandela, as Dr. Posa gave a lecture on earlier. So, in closing, as we try to wrap up this topic of careers in a short space of time. We will have a full proper career day where we talk about actuaries, where we talk about TV producers, content producers. Nowadays we have influencers. Who's going to be an influencer in the future here? Who is the highest grossing content producer in social media in South Africa, or influencer that you know? I know my deputy will speak about that a little bit, even though she holds the topic of mental health dear. She has a multiple talents. She runs a lot of Instagram live shows. She is currently studying to be a doctor medically. She's also pursuing beauty contests, and Miss Mpumalanga, we know she's going to be our Miss South Africa, Miss World, Miss Universe, and also being a doctor. So what is happening there? You have an individual who appreciates their talent, who uses their time not for gossip, not for social media, for no purpose, but to say, I must do things purposefully and have multiple talents. And we must not forget to pray, of course. However, you can be a good person in prayer and bad at books. You can be good at books and bad at prayer. And that time you need prayer for your books, you are found wanting. So find that balance in your spirituality. And I believe you will produce some of the finest people that are still needed today, accountants, heads of finance. That hospital that I spoke about earlier, that particular IT services company that I spoke about earlier needs an accountant. That robot that is being produced in South Africa or Japan needs a designer who understands the psychology of human beings. Because if you're going to produce robots that look exactly like human beings, they proved to fail. Please go and Google the robot called, now the name is produced by a bank called SoftBank. There's a bank called SoftBank. It's the only bank that got robots right as far as social interactions. So this robot is small like this, doesn't look like a human being. It needed someone who understands the psychology of people to enable us to design the designers the right thing. The designer alone might not have had the psychology skill. So if you're thinking of pursuing psychology, go for it. Finally, I see the chair is here, and it's the first time we have to welcome the person behind the whole Maripi Orovelane Alumni Organization. He is known as the Nehemiah of our school because through his vision, through his passion, this guy drives. I've never seen someone like this in my life. He drives all the way from Joburg, almost every weekend. He just got married recently. So we are encouraging him to also balance this thing of life. But his passion for education, Orovelane, Befelsuk, Bushbuckridge, is beyond any imagination. If you can emulate some of his attributes, you will go far. I'm learning from him every day. He's my boss here at work, and now he's going to give us one or two comments on the issue of careers with a particular angle that is different from Mpele and Harold Ngobeni.
Avshen Dumelang. I assume it's still in the morning. Good morning. I'm Belang Harold Maboko. I was actually telling him that it looks like he came for his own wedding. It looks like a groom. And the same applies to Dr. Posa. You know, they actually went all out, dressed to kill. It looks like it's some kind of wedding. And in fact, everyone, did anyone tell you guys that you are looking handsome and beautiful? Yeah, now I'm telling you, give yourself a round of applause. Sure, thank you. Like Harold said, I'm going to just say a thing or one or two. I'm not going to spend a lot of time. So, career choices. We normally run like sessions like the whole day about career choices and stuff like that. And Harold covered most of that part. But while we were preparing for this session, because I understood that I can take 5 hours talking about this, I wanted to know exactly what was expected from the learners. And I'm just going to summarize it for those who missed out. And then I'll also tell you what is possible. When you're in primary, this is a reminder, you have a subject called EMS, Economic Management System. And then you have what we call social science. And then you have natural science. That's like primary. Now, EMS, when you get to grade 10, it becomes what a stream. Like we have 3 streams in high school. Science stream, commerce stream, general stream. So EMS becomes what you're going to, we call it accounting, business studies, and economics. So when you choose that stream, you are in a commerce stream. In primary, did all of them. Then the other stream is called science stream. That is mathematics, pure maths, life science, which used to be called for the premier, they used to call it biology, and physical science. So that's the science stream. Then general stream are subjects like geography, history. Then when you get to tertiary, now talking about varsity. So we used to have in varsity what we call traditional universities, meaning like University of Pretoria, University of Cape Town. And then we used to have what we call technicons. Now they call them University of Technologies. When you go there, most of the time you're just going there to get a diploma. Then the third one, we also have like technical colleges or colleges. Then you go to get the certificate. Now let me just talk about when you go to varsity as a start. When you're doing science, you're going to, in varsity, you have these options like Faculty of Science, where you can do computer science, what I did, IT, or you can go and do engineering, that's like science stream, and then medicine. So those are science-related streams. Then commerce, accounting, business, when you go to varsity, you can do things like that, what Harold did, like accounting, you can be an economist, you can specialize in things like that, economics, accounting. Then general streams are what you normally call like BA, Bachelor of Arts. Things like social work, law, those are like you wanna act. You hear someone is going for acting degrees. So that's called, it will be under Faculty of Humanities. Now, the nice thing is, if you are doing maths like here in Oregon, all of you are doing pure maths. With pure maths and maths or science stream, you can do any of those fields. So if you have science and you have never done accounting, and Harold can confirm, you have never done accounting, you can still do a CA stream. As an example, which is where I want to elaborate, if you didn't do accounting, there are some programs in some universities where they can actually help you to catch up. But it's not really expected that you need to have this score in accounting, especially in university. College and technicals, and you might see that they need accounting. So I was just talking about university. The other thing that is very, very important for you to know, even if you didn't qualify for a university degree, let's say you decide to go to college, there is also alternative process where you go and do nursing, you get something, eventually you go and do a degree, then you can even become a doctor. So there are some options, like I know someone will go for a diploma in engineering, get those S1, S2, S3, and 4, and qualify. After qualifying, you can get maybe some points and do first year university for a degree. So you can still convert. Or you go through that stream, you get, I forgot what they call it, after you graduate, the second level, they equate it to a degree. Then you can go to varsity and do honors. So you have an option, because I understood one of your questions was, what if you want to become, let's take something and you don't qualify? So you just have to ask those questions. Like, what is an alternative? Like Claude will confirm here. To qualify for a medicine, for example, it's hard. Many people don't qualify. But for those who didn't qualify, what they normally do, they go first year and do a general BSc. They do BSc. And then some, it depends on the universities. I can't remember, maybe University of Texas, they want 70%. That if your overall is 70% in that general stream, you didn't qualify for medicine, and you go and do just BSc, your physical science and stuff like that. If you get that average of 70, therefore the following year you enroll. That means you get into a journey of being a doctor. Otherwise, if you don't get whatever is their requirement, you might just get your degree, like you just have a BSc degree. So the point is, there are alternatives. There are alternatives. So I think the question that you have to ask yourself is, how do I move from here to where you want to go? You might not qualify in a straight line. Maybe you have to go via almost a displacement. You have to go by a different route to get to where you want to get into. So the other thing that I want to talk about is what we call APS, admission criteria, how you calculate your points. So, and that's different from university to another university. I was just looking at my university, because I keep checking University of Cape Town. So the way they calculate the score is different from the other universities. So UCT, they actually try to differentiate, let's take level 7, from someone who got 81% and 92%. So they use the exact percentages. While other universities, they just look at the overall, that if you got 61 to 69, they classify you under one category, then they say the score is 6. And they say to qualify, you need maybe 25 points. So you'll take your maths that you got 6 points, you add with another subject. Mostly they use 6 subjects. So they're saying 6 times, let's say 6 times 6 is 36. Then if you get all the 6 points, then you have 36. If they say entrance requirements is 25 or 32, then you qualify. But what is also important, they use the and conjunction, meaning it must be these two. One, if you're doing engineering, they're saying you need 34 points, and you must get, let's take 70% in maths and science. If you get 90% in maths and science, but overall results are 25, you don't meet that entrance requirement, you don't qualify. Don't say I got distinction in maths and distinction in science, but I still didn't qualify. It's because they want to see that you qualify overall. That's why they use and, it's not or. They don't say you get this or this. It's conjunction. They must all be together. So that one's very, very important. Some other universities, it's also compulsory for certain courses that you do what you call NBT, National Benchmark Test. So that test that you see people going and write, go to Bush, Nesbitt, wherever, you can write that. For some courses, like I said, you have to check the prospectus. For some courses that you want to study, just check if it's a requirement. If it's a requirement, and then you have all your distinctions, you qualify for the points, then and they reject you. They say it's because you don't have the NBT. So I think that's the key part I wanted to help you. And then, like I said, I will spend a lot of time to talk about those alternatives. As an example of what's possible, in UCT, if you do a BSc, for BSc, and you want to be a CA, there is a conversion course. I'm not sure if Harold know about it, a conversion course where someone did a degree, and then when they finish the BSc, they qualify to do a course where they can give them a degree in commerce. Then they can get in 1 year. It's a very, not an easy one. You can imagine you do what other people did in 3 years. Then you get your BCom. Then you can continue go for your honors and then for your board exams and stuff like that. And I want to warn you, very few people like that I know who manage that stream. So what I'm trying to say, the message that I'm trying to say now, or lay here, is that there is an alternative. So you might say, oh, I mean, BCom, and after 3rd year, you realize that this is not for me for science. I don't want to deal with all this science, this lab and this experiment, the COVID and stuff like that, Maybe you are scared that these things will kill you, And then you say, I want to try something maybe to work with money. So you can take that stream, that alternative, and then eventually become economist. So the other thing, and don't be worried too much. Now, they're saying on average, a person basically changes their career 3 times, on average. Some people, they were meant to change, but they were just afraid for a change. So I might start as a computer scientist. Like I'm passionate, I want to be, I'm passionate about teaching maths. Then I might change, hey, maths is my thing. Then maybe eventually I realize, no, I'm supposed to be injecting people. Okay, why have injection? But there's a good doctor. So whatever you are intending to do now, it might differ in 5 years' time. But the key message is that just go for it and keep asking questions. Ask questions. Don't just start and just push yourself until you go to a grade. You say, I'm stuck with this, I don't love it. Like Harold, I think was talking about the passion and things like that. So you should be able to navigate through that to say, I think this is enough. Maybe now I have to be an entrepreneur. Maybe I have to start my own business. So that there are so varieties of career options. As we are sitting here, we have educators, we have different people, and you can always change. And someone was asking, as we were preparing, and Harold covered it, to saying, what if you study something that it might not be relevant? I think doctors stress these things about learning. I think for me that is the easiest part to summarize this part, that you can never stop learning. We are talking about being the student of life. So in the past, maybe 50 years back, they will say illiterate were people who didn't read, who were not able to read or to write. So they will call it that you are illiterate. But in the 21st century, they said the illiterate of the 21st century are not those who cannot read or write, but are those who cannot learn, unlearn, and relearn. So in 21st century, if you can unlearn, sometimes you have to unlearn what you have learned, which is the most difficult part of it. Because that's why you hear people say, but I've done this all my life, but it's no longer working. So if you are stuck with that, therefore you're going to become irrelevant. I mean, computer science, I can relate. There are so many programming languages, COBOL. There are people who refuse, saying, expect to this. Right now, they are stuck. So Harold was talking about robotics and AI. I didn't study those things. I only learned those things about 4 or 5 years. And I'm also able to develop even some robotics, software robotics. But the key message is, I have to learn. If something is changing, you have to learn and be part of it. Otherwise, you're going to be irrelevant. So that's the journey of life. Never stop learning. So I think that's the key message. And learning, like when Dr. was talking about education, let's not limit it to academics. It's just education in general. So you have to learn. Some learning might not necessarily mean that you go to university and get a degree. Some learning might mean you go to YouTube, you learn something, and then when I ask you, what is a data scientist? Because you have learned machine learning, you are able to say, yes, I can do some machine learning. I can do some data science stuff. Where did you learn? On YouTube. When you come to interview, I ask you, what are the different models that you know from machine learning? You know, things like that. Therefore, I employ you. So the key part is that continue to learn and to learn and to learn. And we'll be here to answer more questions. Like I said, these sessions of career choice, it can go on for a weekend, for a camp. But for now, I think it's safe to wrap it up and say thank you, as we're going to hand over to the other team. And then just for correction, I know people say whatever NEMA project, yeah, it's part of the team. I'm just representing. You know, like when they say someone is a speaker, we celebrate Mandela, but he was working. There were a lot of people behind. So even on this project, I want to assure you that they're just making me to look special. Maybe it's because I'm handsome. I know I'm the most handsome one in the Aravelani alumni. So they want to make me as if I'm important. But yeah, we have a bigger team. They are doing greater work. So I appreciate just to lead these great and powerful people. Thank you.